हेलो फ्रेंड्स, मैं आपका दोस्त डॉक्टर सजाद वानी। आज का हमारे इस वीडियो का टॉपिक है द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया, इट्स एडॉप्शन एंड एनफोर्समेंट। इस वीडियो को देखने से पहले आई एडवाइज यू दैट यू शुड वॉच ऑल द 3 वीडियोस ऑन द कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली विच आई हैव ऑलरेडी अपलोडेड ऑन दिस यूट्यूब चैनल. After watching these 3 videos, you will have a better understanding about this video. So let's start. Enactment of the Constitution. जैसा कि आपको पता है that 3 drafts were prepared by the drafting committee of the Constituent Assembly, and the third and final draft it was presented before the Constituent Assembly on 4th November 1948. और जो फाइनल ड्राफ्ट था इसकी 3 रीडिंग्स की Constituent Assembly ने. The first reading it took place on 4th November 1948. The second reading it took place between the period 15th November 1948 to 17th October 1949. और उसके बाद द थर्ड एंड द फाइनल रीडिंग इट टुक प्लेस बिटवीन 14th नवंबर 1949 to 26th नवंबर 1949. जैसा कि मैंने ऑलरेडी डिस्कस किया हुआ है इन द वीडियो ऑन कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली दैट the 11th session of the Constituent Assembly it was completed on 26th November 1949. और इस दिन क्या हुआ, the motion on the draft constitution, जो फाइनल ड्राफ्ट था कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पे, इस पे जो मोशन थी दैट वाज डिक्लेयर्ड एज पास्ड, मींस द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन वाज पास्ड ऑन 26 नवंबर 1949. और इस डेट को मेंशन किया गया है इन द प्रीएम्बल टू द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया एज द डेट ऑन विच द people of India adopted, enacted and gave to themselves the constitution. That means November 26, 1949, this date is celebrated as the date of adoption and enactment of the constitution. और इस दिन जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन अडॉप्ट हुआ उसमें 395 आर्टिकल्स थे along with the preamble which were divided into 22 parts and 8 schedules. So let's remember it that on 26 November 1949 the motion on draft constitution was declared as passed, and this date has been mentioned in the preamble to the Constitution of India as the date of adoption and enactment of the constitution. उसके बाद आगे चलेंगे. द एनफोर्समेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. यूजुअली हम भूल जाते हैं, वी यूजुअली से दैट द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन केम इनटू फोर्स ऑन 26 जनवरी 1950. It is true, but it is not the complete truth. The truth is that the provisions pertaining to citizenship, elections, provisional parliament, temporary and transitional provisions, and short title contained in certain articles like Article 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 60, 324, 366, 367, 379, 380, 388, 391, 392 and 393. All these provisions, they came into force only on 26th November 1949. That means although the major part of the constitution that was enforced or that came into force on 26th January 1950, which is celebrated as the Republic Day, but some of the provisions of the constitution they came into force on the very same date on which the constitution was adopted. That means on 26th November 1949. So you can remember some of these provisions like the provisions related to citizenship, elections, provisional parliament, temporary and transitional provisions, and short title contained in certain articles. So आप ये हमेशा याद रखेंगे that some of the portions of the provisions of the constitution they were enforced on the same date as the date of adoption of the constitution or the date on which the constitution was passed. Enforcement of the constitution, the major part, जैसा कि मैंने अभी बोला, और sometimes अगर आपके सामने एक question आए, the constitution of India came into force or it was enforced or it became operational on 26th January 1950. आपको याद रखना है. Actually इस दिन पूरा constitution enforce नहीं हुआ, but the major part of the constitution was enforced. जो minor part था, some of the provisions they were already enforced on 26th November 1949. So the major part of the constitution came into force on 26th January 1950, and this day is referred to in the constitution as the day of its commencement. तो ये याद रखना है अगर कभी क्वेश्चन आए that the date of commencement of the Indian constitution it is 26th of January 1950, and this date is celebrated as the Republic Day of India. Why was 26th January chosen for the enforcement of the constitution। ये बहुत ही important point है। क्यों? 26 नवंबर 1949 पे फाइनल मोशन पास हुई थी ऑन द ड्राफ्ट कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, तो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन पास हो गया। देन Constituent Assembly it met again on 24th of January 1950 so that the members could append their signatures. But still 26th January was specifically chosen as the date of commencement of the constitution because इसकी एक historical importance है। दिसंबर 1929 में लाहौर सेशन ऑफ इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस इसमें डिसाइड हुआ था दैट 26th January 1930 will be celebrated as the Purna Swaraj Day. So, Purna Swaraj Day of 26th January 1930 इसको commemorate करने के लिए इसकी याद में we celebrated 26th January 1950 as the date of commencement of the Constitution. ये point आपको याद रखना है। So, after the commencement, what were the effects? With the commencement of the Constitution, the Indian Independence Act of 1947 and the Government of India Act 1935, along with all the enactments and amendments or amendments and those things which were supplementing the acts, they were all repealed. ये आपको याद रखना है, जो भी पुराने acts थे, Government of India Act और Indian Independence Act, these all were repealed, except one act which continued, that is the abolition of Privy Council Jurisdiction Act 1949. मैं आपको थोड़ा सा आइडिया दूंगा about the abolition of Privy Council Jurisdiction Act. In 1949, an act was passed by the Constituent Assembly क्योंकि Constituent Assembly itself acted as the legislative body. So, it passed the bill which came to be known as the abolition of Privy Council Jurisdiction Act. What was the Privy Council? It was the council of His Majesty. We say that His Majesty in council. इसका काम क्या था? Some of the petitions and appeals from the territory of India, they went to His Majesty in council. तो वो उसको dispose of करते थे. He acted as a court. तो after we made our Supreme Court, which was a federal court, the jurisdiction of this Privy Council, it was abolished and these appeals and petitions वो कहाँ जाते थे? Supreme Court में. So, Privy Council की jurisdiction को abolish करने के लिए Constituent Assembly, which acted as the legislative body, इसने एक act pass किया which was known as the Abolition of Privy Council Jurisdiction Act of 1949. तो after the commencement of constitution हमारे सारे पुराने acts they were repealed except this act. ये आपको याद रखना है. This act was not repealed even after the completion of the task of forming constitution by the Constituent Assembly. What happened to the Constituent Assembly after adopting constitution? मैंने Constituent Assembly पे जो वीडियो बनाया था उसमें मैंने already mention किया हुआ है that the Constituent Assembly इसका मेन पर्पस था टू मेक द कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन, लेकिन इसके अलावा इट ऑल्सो एक्टेड एज अ लेजिस्लेचर आफ्टर द इंडिपेंडेंस ऑफ इंडिया. तो ये पॉइंट मैंने ऑलरेडी मेंशन किया हुआ है दैट फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम द कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली मेट एज अ डोमिनियन लेजिस्लेचर, दैट इज द पार्लियामेंट ऑफ फ्री इंडिया, ऑन 17 नवंबर 1947. क्योंकि मैंने ऑलरेडी बताया है आपको दैट द चेयरमैन ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली और द प्रेसिडेंट ऑफ द कॉन्स्टिट्यूंट असेंबली वाज डॉक्टर Rajendra Prasad. But after the independence of India, the Constituent Assembly, it also became a legislative body, and when it acted as a legislative body, it was not headed by Dr. Rajendra Prasad, but it was headed by G.V. Mavlankar. And G.V. Mavlankar, who was elected as its speaker, he was elected on 17th November 1947. So from this very date, the Constituent Assembly, it became the legislative body. It became the dominion legislature of India. And when the task of drafting the constitution was completed, when the constitution was finally adopted on 26 November 1949, जो Constituent Assembly का main काम था, that is the drafting and adoption of the constitution, वो तो खत्म हो गया. तो उसके बाद the Constituent Assembly, it became a legislative body. तो it worked as a legislative body. Means इसका काम जो था as a constituent body as well as a legislative body, it continued up to 26 November 1949. तो इस टाइम इसका constituent काम खत्म हो गया and it continued as a legislative body, and so it acted as a provisional parliament of India till April 17, 1952. तो इस डेट तक दिस कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली इट एक्टेड एज द प्रोविजनल पार्लियामेंट, क्योंकि हमारे पास अपना इलेक्टेड पार्लियामेंट नहीं था एंड द पार्लियामेंट वाज फाइनली इलेक्टेड इन 1952. इट वाज इन मे 1952. तो उस टाइम हमारे प्रोविजनल पार्लियामेंट मीन्स हमारी कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट असेंबली का काम पूरी तरह से ख़त्म हो गया. सो ये पॉइंट आपको याद रखना है. So this is all about the adoption and enactment of constitution. अगर आपको कोई queries हैं, you can mail me on sajadwani657@gmail. You can visit my Facebook profile sajadwani और my Facebook page Genesis Academy, Instagram Dr. Sajadwani, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel Genesis Academy by Dr. Sajadwani. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.